11Q Apocryphal Psalms is a collection of non-biblical Jewish songs found in the 11th cave near the site of Qumran. The scroll dates to around the turn of the era and preserves 6 columns of written material. Columns 1 to 5 contain previously unknown anti-demonic songs, while the final column preserves Psalm 91, a biblical psalm commonly used by Jews for dealing with demons and diseases. These songs have often been connected by scholars with the 4 songs mentioned in another scroll from Qumran. There, the Israelite King David is said to have produced 4 songs to perform over the possessed or afflicted. 11Q Apocryphal Psalms has been viewed by scholars of early Judaism as either a series of exorcistic songs or songs sung to protect oneself from demons. Eric Eve, in his book The Jewish Context of Jesus' Miracles, summarizes the issue as follows. A notion of what the text is about is used to reconstruct the text, and the reconstructed text is then employed to support the argument for what the text is about. This circular reasoning has had a profound consequence for reading the text as a whole, and any hypothesis about the exorcistic nature of this text thus rests on relatively insecure foundations. Due to the broken context of the songs, as well as numerous tentative reconstructions, understanding the exact function of these songs is difficult. Additionally, scholars are divided about whether these songs represent the particular sectarian views of the inhabitants of Qumran, or if they were simply adopted by the Dead Sea Scrolls community. In this video, I will highlight some of the characteristic language of this scroll and how it might have been used as an anti-demonic ritual. Column 1 is in a state of extreme fragmentation, though some features can still be examined. The first legible word mentions the word oath, a term synonymous with the Hebrew word for adjure, in line 7, sometimes translated as exorcising. In other anti-demonic works, the exorcist commands the demon under an oath to leave the possessed. In the New Testament book of Acts, for example, 7 sons of a Jewish high priest named Sceva attempt to cast out a demon by saying, "I adjure you," or "I command you under oath," by the Jesus whom Paul proclaims. Additionally, the phrase "in" or "by Yahweh" in line 4 may refer to the source of power used in the adjuration. Finally, lines 10 to 11 mention the demon in proximity to the phrase "he will dwell," which may mean that the speaker is signaling the relocation of the demon to another area to be bound, to endure some manner of punishment. This is similar to what is found in the Jewish book of Tobit. There, the demon Asmodeus is removed and bound in Egypt by the angel Raphael. Column 2 begins with a mention of the biblical King Solomon alongside the Hebrew word kara, that is, to call or invoke, which suggests that this column is part of an incantation. Solomon is either being called upon as a power authority by the speaker to amplify the ritual power, or perhaps this line is attributing an incantation to Solomon. During this period, Solomon was thought to have been given divine wisdom by the God of Israel on the topic of demonology. The 1st century CE Jewish historian Josephus, for example, states that Solomon left behind forms of exorcisms with which those possessed by demons drive them out, never to return. The presence of the Hebrew word for "these" in line 4 is interpreted by the editors of the official publication of the scroll as possibly indicating that the previous lines consisted in part of a list of evil spirits similar to 4Q Songs of the Sage. The possibility of a list of evil spirits and the mention of the abyss also parallels the understudied text 4Q Catalogue of Spirits A. This work contains an enumeration of spirits, the mention of a curse, and the remains of the word fire, which may refer to a place of eschatological punishment. Following a fragmentary line, line 7 preserves "his people and cure," which based upon lines 8 to 9 seems to be about God healing faithful Israelites. Lines 10 and 11 then mention the heavens and separated, which seems to be best understood as references to God's creative work. God's sovereignty over creation is mentioned several times in the anti-demonic songs of the sage. Philip Alexander suggests that the reason for creation imagery in magical texts from Qumran is due to a reliance on the Watcher mythology. The Watchers were a well-known group of disobedient spirit beings in early Judaism. The perversion enacted by the Watchers is meant to be reversed to declaring God's creative power. Ida Froelich proposes that columns 2 and 3 ought to be read together as containing one song. One element that could be interpreted as exorcistic in this column is the question found in lines 2 to 3. James Sanders interprets the question, "Who made these portents and wonders?" as a kind of antagonistic question directed toward the evil spirits. Evil spirits are mentioned in this column depending on how one reconstructs lines 4 to 5. According to this reconstruction, God calls the bastards and the seed of evil to stand before him in judgment. God then calls the heavens and the earth to bear witness of their evil acts. The song further describes two instances of fear: if they do not refrain out of fear, and they will fear. Warnings against the spirits about future judgment should they choose to interfere. Column 4 once again contains the word for adjuration, but without any further context. Lines 4 to 5 contain a threat against an unknown figure, with a warning that God will attack and send a powerful angel against the figure. Lines 7 to 9 continue describing the fate of the figures in the great and dark abyss and incurring the curse of Abaddon, which could refer to either an angel, demon, or location. Yahweh's anger against the evil spirits is especially interesting in this column. The evil spirit's perverse nature demands harsh reaction. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus is also said to react with hostility to evil spirits. The New Testament authors state that Jesus rebukes the demons. The Greek word for rebuke has its background in the Semitic root ga'ar. The word ga'ar is used in the Old Testament for God's rebuke against his enemies. The word also appears in the Genesis Apocryphal, an Aramaic retelling of various events from the book of Genesis. In the Genesis Apocryphal, the patriarch Abraham was able to expel an evil spirit from Pharaoh Zoan by laying hands on him. The plague was removed from him, the evil spirit was banished from him, and he recovered. Column 5 preserves the end of the previous song and the beginning of a new composition. This new song, attributed to David, is described as an incantation or charm that uses the Tetragrammaton, the divine name of God, as a power authority. Additionally, instructions of when and how to use the incantation are supplied. First, two temporal instructions are given: invoke at any time to the heavens, and when he comes upon you in the night. The first temporal instruction states that the incantation can be used at any point, but the second says it is to be used when the demon manifests itself at night. One way to rectify this is that perhaps the instructions are meant to be taken to mean invoke at any time during the night, when one encounters an evil spirit. Alternatively, it could mean that the incantation was a preventative function to dissuade the demon from making contact in the first place, but if the demon does show up, one can recite the incantation to remedy the situation. Second, instructions are also given about what to say to the demon. The speaker is told to ask the spirit to identify themselves. "Who are you, O offspring of man and of the seed of the holy ones?" The speaker knows that he is addressing a demon, and so the question, "Who are you?" must mean that the speaker wants the demon to tell him their name, a typical feature of exorcism elsewhere. Next, the speaker describes the demon's characteristics, namely that they have a face of delusion and horns of illusion, and that they are darkness and injustice. Lines 8 to 11 seem to refer to God's banishment of the evil spirits to a place of judgment, possibly Sheol, the realm of the dead, where they are unable to escape. Lines 11 onward then give more instructions on what to say, though it is unclear whether this is spoken to the demon or over a person who is suffering from demonic affliction. This incantation may have had multiple uses. The incantation can be used both to prevent demonic affliction, but also for when the demon reveals itself. It is possible that when the text says that the demon comes upon you, this refers to the evil spirit taking control of the person, evidenced perhaps by an ecstatic fit of demon possession, though this is never stated. We do have another example of this kind of manifestation, however, in the New Testament. According to Mark 9:17 to 18, a young boy has a spirit that makes him unable to speak, and wherever it seizes him, it dashes him down and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. The word katalabe seems to be synonymous with the Hebrew word found in this scroll. 11Q Apocryphal Psalms helps introduce us to a number of important anti-demonic Jewish practices. The use of power authorities to gain ritual power, such as King Solomon or Yahweh, are typical of other exorcistic rituals throughout the ancient world. Additionally, the use of angelic names such as Raphael in column 5 situate these rituals within a larger cosmological battle between unseen supernatural beings. Further, some of these rituals contain explicit instructions on how to use them, suggesting that some of these may have been produced by specialists for use by various groups of Jews. Despite being so fragmentary, 11Q Apocryphal Psalms elucidates some of the common ways Jews dealt with the problem of evil in their communities. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons to be notified when new videos come out.